Are you tired of feeling run down and exhausted? In our fast-paced world, we're often surrounded by toxins that impact our well-being. I provide holistic solutions designed to detoxify your body and environment. With cutting-edge AO voice scan technology, we identify the root causes of your discomfort or dis-ease, making personalized healing easier than ever. Start your transformative journey towards a healthier, toxin-free life, because at White Sands Self-Care, your well-being is our priority.
Most people aren't broken. They're just dysregulated. Chronic stress, pain, anxiety, and burnout aren't mindset failures. They're nervous systems stuck in survival. I'm Leland Holgate, combat veteran and neuroscientist, and I created the Welcome Home Method to help people rewire their nervous systems with breath. To go deeper, visit thewillfulwarrior.com.
Chris Cianciulli has spent his career understanding what drives people and creating systems that help them achieve it. With a background in exercise science, he has trained professional athletes, executives, and music industry celebrities, owned a gym and 2 personal training studios, founded a networking organization, and authored 3 books. Today, he leads My Personal Network, or MPN, an online accountability program for independent professionals, built on weekly structure, daily disciplines, and a peer group that holds members to their own standard.
Well, welcome back to part 2 of this powerful conversation with Chris Cianciulli. In part 1, we explored Chris's journey from feeling misunderstood in traditional systems to discovering the power of discipline, structure, personal growth, and creating a life rooted in purpose. And we talked about resilience, reinvention, and how success is often built through small, consistent actions over time rather than overnight transformation. Chris Cianciulli is an entrepreneur, mentor, and visionary behind My Personal Network, a platform intentionally designed to help people create accountability, connection, structure, and momentum in both life and business. His work is centered around helping people to stop drifting through life and start building success with clarity and community. And in this next part of the conversation, we're diving even deeper into those mindset shifts, the habits and life lessons that separate people who stay stuck from those who truly transform. We're going to explore the power of consistency, self-awareness, community, and why the right environment can completely change the trajectory of someone's life. So, Chris, one of the things that really stood out to me from our earlier conversation was how much your journey was shaped by structure and accountability. And you talked about learning early on that you weren't competing against other people, but you were competing against yourself. How does MPN help people shift from comparison to personal growth and self-accountability?
Well, it's a great question. I think a lot of people that are in business or that pursue a business, you need to focus on yourself first, because your business is an extension of you as a person. So the values that are rooted in the business are often the values of the founder. The reliability, or knowing that you can count on a business to, how often do we hear of a contractor who says that they're going to be there for an estimate at whatever time, and then they come later? Like, you hear of those complaints. I'm willing to bet that the individual who maybe is lenient with their time in their personal life is also their professional life. So with any leader, I often ask people, what's the one element or one thing that defines a leader? And it's not a deep question. It's very simple. The answer is they have followers. And I believe that you need to lead yourself before others will follow your lead. But they want to know that you're not hypocritical, or you're not telling others to do something that you don't do yourself. So I think when it comes to structure, when you have structure, that consistency and commitment, that builds confidence. And people are naturally drawn to confident individuals. So if you want people to follow, you need to set an example with that structure that you maintain.
Yeah, it's kind of brings up when you were mentioning in part one there too, is like when the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I know you and I have talked about, I always believe leadership is leading by example and not do as I, do as I say, not as I do. So yeah,
Same with
definitely.
parenting. Someone said it to me early on when my oldest was young. I asked someone, what advice do you have for a new parent? And I was genuinely curious to hear what people had to say. Um, and it was great. They said, kids don't listen, they observe. And that was very powerful to me because I thought to myself of how many things that I think of my childhood or lessons that my parents taught me, not because they said, okay, now lesson 27 and then shared it. I observed their behaviors. I saw that my parents were very giving. I saw that my dad treated everyone equally. He never looked down on anyone. So that example that they set helped define the person that I became because that to me was normal. So I see where you can affect those around you by the decisions that you make.
Yeah, and that's also one thing I love about you is because when you're asking and stuff, it's not to judge people. It is because you're genuinely curious and you're always constantly learning. And I think that makes a big difference, especially in the community and stuff that you built. And you don't feel like you're, like just being, sold to, because it's not really to sell anybody anything. It's genuinely to help people grow. So that is definitely one thing I admire about what you've built with MPN.
If I can correct that word again, you say community. I always go back to culture
Sure.
because part of that structure is if you have a community and you have an ask or you're trying to create structure, it's almost like if you can't uphold that standard, it's okay. We love you just the same. Hug, hug, pat on the back. Whereas a culture is we expect this of you. If you're on a sports team, if you can't meet certain metrics, you're cut from the team. It's not that the team doesn't care about you. If you are a first responder, if you can't meet the criteria of what you need to know to have that role, then you're cut from that position because others depend on you. So if you're not living up to that standard, others are at risk. And I look at the structure in life as a business owner. If you are holding yourself to a higher standard, it creates that respect that, again, confidence that others have that you are a capable leader because you've met that standard. It wasn't just handed to you, or it's not just good enough. It's working to something to achieve it.
No, and that's a good way to put that. I like that, the culture, because not everybody is going to fit the culture. It's not a fit for everyone. It is for people that want to truly change their leadership, their life, their business, and fits basically the model. So it's a yeah. Too early in the morning. It's great. It's a it's a great culture and stuff that you have built. But a major theme in your journey was discovering that traditional systems don't define your intelligence or potential. So, how important is it for people to find environments like MPN where they are supported for who they are instead of judged?
Again, I believe that credibility and that respect is earned. It's not something just given. So, for anyone who struggles in anything, whether it's their own confidence, whether they aren't doing well in school, whether they feel like they can't seem to catch a break, by establishing structure in your life, by just making a personal promise to yourself to a popular one is make your bed every morning. Great. If you, instead of eating junk or out of a vending machine or fast food, by taking pride in preparing something that's healthier, that's giving you energy instead of crashing your energy, all those little steps to building structure, that's what's key. So I recommend or suggest or share that once I started establishing that structure from what I was eating every day, even going back to high school, by creating what I was eating daily. In college, I had what I was eating for the day packed into a backpack, whether it was shakes, which weren't shakes like nowadays where they were ready to drink. I mean, I remember filling up a shaker bottle that would usually explode with clumpy protein in the bathroom at my college and pounding the shake in the bathroom because I didn't want other people to see me drinking it, ask me questions about it. But I created that structure and I just felt good. That's what built my confidence, is making a personal commitment that this is the food I'm eating all day and following it and not deviating. That's what built my confidence that whatever I set my mind to, I could do as long as I created a strategy and a plan to follow. But when I would wing it, and there were times I wasn't as consistent, like I would go periods, then I would lose consistency for a period of time. And I always felt better when I had that structure than when I didn't. And that's when I just decided, would I rather feel good or would I rather feel like I could be achieving more?
Yeah, and then there's a lot of people. We all do that, right? We kind of fall off the wagon a little bit, and sometimes it's tough to get on. And you mentioned that structure and discipline became life changing for you at a young age. And I have to say, early to mid teens, it's very impressive that you had that structure of getting up by 4:30 a.m. and going to the gym. You kind of had your own certain structure. So why do you think so many talented people struggle? Not because of lack of ability, but because they're lacking the consistent structure and accountability?
I think I think we're always on a quest to learn more, thinking that there is an answer out there or there's a secret formula. And even if there was a secret formula, or if you found someone, a genie that gave you the message, I'm not even convinced that people would act on it. They would put it in their back pocket and get around to it later, and they wouldn't have that opportunity. I feel that there's plenty of information, but what we lack is implementation. So everyone knows enough. I think if we stopped looking to acquire new information and started doing more with the information we have, it would move all of us along further. But you have the famous quote, knowledge is power. And knowledge isn't power. What you do with that knowledge, that's power. So it's acting on the information, not just holding it. Because someone can be a wealth of knowledge, but if they're choosing not to share it, and I think everyone is a wealth of knowledge, but I think we have to remind ourselves. So I believe we need to remember more than we need to learn new information.
Yeah, and I've been guilty of that. I've been told before from coaches or whatever, it's time to stop learning and start doing, because you can go down those rabbit holes. You can go down one rabbit hole, which can lead to another rabbit hole, and then you still don't ever. You're learning a lot, maybe, but you're not truly growing or getting to where you want to be.
Well, there's also that expression that I'm sure you've heard and many viewers have heard. People don't care how much you know, but they want to know how much you care, or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel information. If I were to recite a fact about something scientific about the human body, showing my knowledge of a particular area, that's not what's going to impress you. But if you know that I consistently eat a certain way or follow a routine, those actions are going to impress you more because it shows that I'm living with information, not just storing information. So I think too many people try to impress others with what they know instead of relating to others or inspiring others by what they do. So I think the first step for people to create structure is, what is it that you want to achieve? And whatever it is that someone says, whether it's a personal goal, a professional goal, be a better husband, be a better father, mother, sister, friend, whatever it is, it starts with structure. So by waking up at a specific time, not just sleeping in and waking up whenever your body tells you to wake up, I feel that you need to come from a state of being proactive and not reactive. So if you're waking up and, oh, shoot, I overslept, right out of the gate, from the second your feet hit the floor, you're reacting to being late. So now you're not going to get ready where you're preparing your day. You're going to not eat something that you planned out. You're going to grab what's available. So right away, it's a series of bad decisions, all because you overslept. So by starting the day strong, you are approaching the day with that preparation, and proper preparation prevents poor performance. So
That is true. And you and I had kind of a short conversation the other day about that, because about the credentials and stuff, because you have some personality types that, especially depending on what you're trying to support them and help them with, they kind of want to know what your credentials are. But it kind of comes back to that confidence too. If you are confident and people feel you care and they know you can help, who cares about their credentials? They don't even, they don't even ask. And I've seen it a number of times where, yeah, the background, the credentials are great, but if you keep throwing it at people and throwing it in their face, then to me those people start to lose that credibility, because it doesn't seem like it's that you're it doesn't to me it doesn't seem like they're there, truly there to for your benefit. It's more like, look what I've done.
in my experience, I've found I've never personally looked up someone's credentials, whether it is a doctor or when I had surgery. I didn't go looking up the doctor's credentials based on where did they go to college, what were their grades. My doctor actually had a funny joke. He said to me, "What do you call a doctor that got all C's in medical school?" I said, "What?" He said, "Doctor." And I was like, huh. That was the last day he was my doctor. No I'm kidding. But when someone, if you're talking to a friend and they hear that you haven't been feeling well or you have discomfort, they may recommend, let's say, a chiropractor. Oh, you should go see my chiropractor. He's the best. They always follow the name with "he's the best." And I don't know if it's just that people perceive that they have the best, or it's the best because it's theirs. But people always will say, "You should call my guy. You should call my girl. They're the best." It always follows that. And when you hear that, you automatically, it transfers that trust in that person's ability, where you're assuming that because your friend has some experience or relationship with, that automatically qualifies or credentials them to be good enough for you. And if you see that that person has experience with your situation, you'll hire him. And that kind of was the whole impetus for coming up with NPN, with build yourself, build your business, build your network, is in the space like we talked about earlier with networking. People used to just assume, if I join a group and I'm now a member of this organization, automatically, and that's maybe a community, everyone just trusting someone because we both belong to the same group or part of the same organization. So you automatically can trust, automatically they're verified. That's not the case. So when you are first building yourself, you are committing to becoming better as a person in your own life. By doing that, you then become better with your actions as a business owner. And when you do that alongside other individuals who are also working on themselves, that builds a respect for one another, because you know that they are committed, that they are people who do what they say they're going to do. So it's, again, proving it by action, not by promise.
Right, right. And I always said action speaks louder than words. People can tell you something all day long, but when you see how they actually handle things or how they do things, can give you a whole different view.
But even just saying that is words to try to like even support the actions. So it's, my dad said to me, I remember I was probably like 8 years old, and I used to see that if I told my father, "I'm going to mow the lawn for you," I would see him get excited. So I wouldn't necessarily deliver on what I said I was going to do, because it was that short hit of dopamine, or to see that I brought joy or put a smile on my dad's face, and oh, I'm going to clean the garage for you. And he'd say, oh, that'd be great. And I'd be like, oh, he's happy, and then I wouldn't. And I remember at a certain point him saying, don't talk about it, do it. And that don't talk about it, just do it, that really had impact on me, where I stopped. I saw that instead of saying what I was going to do and seeing him grin, I started doing things and surprising him being at work and then me mowing the lawn. When he came home and saw that I put a smile on his face because of something I accomplished. And that made me feel good knowing I did something. I honored a commitment that I first made to myself. I'm going to mow the lawn for my dad. Me doing that made me feel good that I got out, I did something, I accomplished something. Then I felt great knowing that it made his life easier. He didn't have to do it. And then it strengthened the bond between us because it was me helping out or doing my part. And I feel that in any relationship, when people take action instead of talking about action, we're very quick to judge other people by what they do for us. Yet when it comes to ourselves, we try, we do our best, we make the effort, but we don't complete the action. And it's kind of, we don't judge others by the same standards that we want them to by. And I think that if we were more,
to kind of how you went from, theater to fitness to wellness to entrepreneurship. And depending on what generation you grew up in, a lot of times we feel stuck or like this is what we're supposed to do, whether we had a degree or we do this. And I know that's changed a lot now. Sometimes they get looked at as lazy because they're in so many different things. But in today's world, I mean, obviously you have to kind of, change and go. How would you say that MPN encourages people to reinvent themselves and adapt without feeling like they're starting over? Because a lot of times I think that's what keeps people held back, is because they feel like, oh, now I got to start from the beginning again, and they stay stuck.
Well, I'm sure you've heard the quote that 90% of our thoughts today are what they were yesterday. That's just the thoughts. If actions are the same, if 90% of our actions today are the same as yesterday, right there, we have our answer to why we're not getting to the achievements or hitting the goals that we want to reach. Because it's the actions, it's not the thoughts. Yes, the thoughts, it starts as thoughts, and understand that. But once you know what it is you want, the next phase is let's go get it. And I believe many stay stuck because you need to decide, not choose, what direction you want to go in. So very often people in business that aren't where they want to be, they think life is a series of choices, and a choice to me is a this or that. Would you prefer this kind of food or this kind of food for dinner? It's a choice. And depending on the choice you make, it doesn't have any real impact on your life. But a decision is different, because a decision is you cutting off one of the other options or possibilities. So it's not choosing, do you want to become better or stay the same? It's deciding. And if you decide that you want more from your business, from your life, you need to eliminate what you've been doing, the behaviors, the actions of the old you, and take on new ones to help you achieve the new you. So when it comes to business, or like with MPN, each member chooses 6 daily actions. And with those daily actions, 3 are just your initial promises to yourself to complete within the first 60 minutes of waking up. You choose 1 daily physical exercise that you're going to do, from walking to running to swimming. And then it's choosing 1 mental exercise or mental discipline, from yoga to breathing, deep breathing to recording 5 things that you're grateful for, things, or listening to motivational content. It's actions that meet those areas of personal commitment, physical discipline, mental discipline, and then having one business goal per month, but we break it down into daily actions. So if all month your goal is to work on your website, if every day you take some action, maybe some research one day, maybe the next day looking into different layouts, if every day it's on your mind, then you're more likely to do something about it. So by structuring your days with what you're doing for yourself to become better and something to make your business better, everyone's going to have challenge and struggle. And by doing it with others, it's being able to reach out and say, I'm having difficulty here. Is this something that you've worked on? And that's where it's leaning on one another to, sure, here's what I found. And by asking for help or input from other people, that's what starts to build relationships, especially professional relationships. So as you get to know someone and you see, wow, Laura's so knowledgeable. Wow, she always responds to emails quickly. She's totally the kind of person who I want to have more of in my life because I know I can count on her. You start to see who the individual is. And then once you understand their business or service and who they help, now you start looking for opportunities, because if that person helped you with something, you're going to want to naturally reciprocate and help them with something. And as you get to know them and their service, and you know someone who would benefit from it, it's very natural to make the introduction. And now you're introducing them as, hey, this is my friend Laura. You mentioned this. She specializes in that. You two should meet. So now it's my friend. It's not, oh, here's someone I met at a 3-room networking event that was really speed networking. I'm not quite sure what they do, but they said they wanted to meet people that had your job title. So happy connecting. Like that's what makes me insane about the world of networking is it's authentic relationships are hard to come by. And that was important to me to establish an organization with authentic connections, but many can claim it. But again, it's not something with more information like, oh, we do presentations, we talk about our businesses. Here it's, what do we have in common with one another?
And I have to say, because you have a very unique way to do that. And before we go into that, I just want to say, yeah, I'm kind of right there with you, because it's kind of like, what drives me nuts too is the people that connect with you and say that they're interested in this, this, and that, and they're just trying to read what's on there. But maybe if you haven't quite tweaked your profile or whatever, and so you want to set up a one-to-one so that you can get to know them better. Oh, I don't have time for that. Okay. Where's the relationship there? Are we going to do this back and forth in, emails, or the ones that don't even know you but want to start pitching you before they've even had a chance to meet you? That just kind of drives me nuts too. But
everyone wants something, and it's everyone jokes. Everyone I know jokes about when someone starts off with, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, the next thing out of their mouth is most likely not going to be honest. Or let me, to make a long story short, anyone who ever says that, and I've been guilty of it myself, has gone on for 6 minutes before they say, to make a long story short. That ship has sailed. It's a long story already. So whenever someone is, how can we help each other? Every time someone's ever said that to me, their way of helping me involves them selling me something that's going to make something for me better than it currently is. But what's funny is so many people in sales will tell you that their way is better than your way, but they don't even ask you anything about your existing way. So how would they even know that you're having an issue that would need their service? So out of the gate, it's not even a conversation, it's a pitch.
Right.
So I disliked that environment that had been created. And that's why it was changing the whole approach, where it's not based on what you want. It's based on how can I improve myself. it leads to all those things, but I realized why traditional networking was not effective for so many. And when creating MPN, I surveyed more than 700 people over a 2.5 to 3 year period of time with those who came in as guests to the previous organization Connects, which came before MPN. I would ask people, how often do you one-to-ones? How many do you do a month? How many do you do a week? Based on those one-to-ones, how many do you do a follow-up with? What do you like to talk about when meeting with someone for one-to-one? What do you not like to talk about when you're having a one-to-one? And what really surprised me, shocked me with some of these answers is many people did lots of one-to-ones with others to meet with them. Less than 5% of the people I surveyed said they ever have a second one-to-one. So that to me says it's like being on a plane and sitting next to someone and having a conversation, but you never see them again. That's essentially what you're doing. And those same people will argue time is money. My time is valuable. No, it's not. If you're meeting with 5 to 10 people a week who you're never going to talk to again, it doesn't show that you value your time. So that was first. Next, it was surprising to me when I said, what do you not like to talk about? The number one answer was business. So you're going to business networking, but you're saying, but I don't want to talk about business. When I asked, what do you like to talk about? Number one thing was family. Number two thing was travel. So family and travel being the two things people like to talk about the most, yet having to convince people that your business is an extension of yourself, it's like, if that doesn't tell you that it's more about the person, not the profession, I don't know what will. So once I understood that, I realized to create something with a format like MPN, where when you're meeting, you're not meeting with 30, 40, 50 people. Somewhere between 2020 and 2024, 2025, the size of the group started making people think that if there were more people, there was more opportunity or more potential for business. And if you think about it, it's the opposite. If you were to go to a very big party, you're not as likely to remember. You're not going to remember more people. You're probably going to remember less people because of the amount of stimulation looking around the room and who's there. You might take away the one or two conversations you had, but more people doesn't mean more opportunity. So with MPN, it was when meeting smaller groups. So it's 6 people. And instead of I want to meet with everyone, when in reality, you're going to meet with one person, maybe not even, let's just all focus on meeting with one person, choosing one person who you want to meet with for a one-to-one within 7 days. And it's a promise. Before I return to a meeting next week, I'm going to meet with the person I selected. And then it's telling the group and that person, what's the reason you want to meet with them? What did they share when we were meeting that made them resonate with you? Then it's not telling people the service you offer until the end of the call. So nobody's reason for choosing someone is, oh, I want to hear about their business. You've heard nothing about their business. So you're making the connection based on something in common. So if we connect on commonality, that's better than opportunity, because then it's a two-way street, not a one-way street where you're kind of like prospecting in the room.
Yeah, and to add to your point, the groups you're talking about, because I've done those before, and that's kind of is what your mindset is. It's like, oh, I have a chance to meet all these people, because some of these rooms can have 50 to 150 people. But when you break it down, you have a minute to give your elevator pitch, right? But you have spent 2.5 hours by the time they go through everybody. And otherwise, really, it provides you a list. They always tell you copy the chat, but that's still kind of almost like cold calling, but you're doing it through connecting in emails because you really didn't get to see them. And then some people don't stay on. They do their pitch, and then whoop, they drop off, and then eventually the group. So if you're visiting that group, you might be down to 50 or 40 people instead of the 100 that you started with. And, that however you present yourself in that 1 minute time slot that you get. So yeah, I understood the concept kind of it, but when I started looking at it, it's like, I don't have this kind of time besides being locked up in front of a computer for 2.5 hours. So it's one of the reasons I really loved your structure. And the fact, if any of you guys watched part one yet, if not, go back and watch it. Chris likes to make things fun and everything like a game. And so we start each meeting with those icebreakers and questions. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, because they're really unique. And I think every time we meet, like you've said before, we're always learning something new about that person. You want to expand on that?
Yeah. So, I read the book years ago. As it started as like my daily structure, one of the first books when I started really like going to high gear with creating this structure in my life. One of the first books I read was called Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh, founder of Zappos, which sold to Amazon in 2010. And Tony Hsieh, the way that he structured the company is for each employee, when they would log on to their computer, like the unlock screen, they would have an employee would pop up 3 times. They had the employee's picture would pop up, and you had 3 multiple choice questions, and you had to guess their name correctly. And he wanted everyone in the organization to know one another by name, not just, hey, you. So I really like that idea of getting to know people by guessing, because it's kind of like if you get an email with any quiz, it's always fun to take a quiz to see how many you can get right. So I took that idea, and when members join, they submit 20 fun facts about themselves. And every couple of months, they submit more fun facts. And when you attend a meeting and you're grouped with a total of 6 people on the call, when someone introduces themselves using our platform that I designed, you expand their profile, seeing their picture, and then it gives you 3 choices for each of their fun facts. So it might say, what's a fear or phobia that Laura has? A, rats. B, spiders. C, snakes. And people are going to guess what they have a fear or phobia about, or they're going to guess what they think you said if they've met you before. And right away, it reveals if your guess was correct or incorrect. So just based on fun facts, we've had members learn about each other. Like, wow, I didn't know that you were into car racing. Like when Rhonda answered a fun fact about racing Corvettes, I said, Laura races cars. I got to connect them. Like right away, learning that about her made me think, who do I know that would appreciate that fun fact? And within the platform, all of those fun facts, that's what builds your profile. So like in LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, the CEO of LinkedIn, said that one of their biggest issues that they had was getting people to fill out their profiles. I'm sure many people watching this don't have a complete profile, or it hasn't been updated since you originally created it however many years ago. And I said, how is there a way to overcome that obstacle? If the best in the business and the biggest in the business is having this issue, how can it be overcome? And I think I solved it by making it about the individual. So by creating it where you build your profile by people guessing fun facts. So of the fun facts that you answer, that's what then goes into your profile. And members that go into your profile, they acknowledge each of your fun facts. So it allows you to know who's aware of your accomplishments, your likes, your dislikes. Because I said it in part 1 of our conversation, it's not what you know, and it's not who you know. It's who you know that knows what you know. And those fun facts are how you learn individual facts about someone. So it's like, how do you get to know someone? The same way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Here you get to know people one fun fact about themselves at a time, and that's how we build more authentic relationships.
Yeah, and you start with the icebreakers where you can have, like, put get it done right away or put it off till later, and you have to choose. There's no context behind it, right? So you just have to choose one. And I think what I have found for myself, for one, it kind of depends on what's going on in my life at the time, or where my focus is onto how I would answer it. But then when you start hearing other people's answer it and their perspective is like, oh, well, yeah, that would agree or apply too. And so in a way, it can kind of help you understand maybe where that person is, or maybe something that's going on with them without them actually saying. Um,
Can I share the format of to give some context
yeah,
to that?
absolutely. Yeah.
So what our members do is there's 4 weekly steps that are completed by members. So the first step is what's called the meetup. And that's a 6-person discovery call where there are 3 rounds to get to know one another. Prior to logging on for the meetup, you get an email where you log into the platform and you are given 3 this or that icebreakers. So it may say something, plan it or wing it. Next question might be proactive to respond, reactive to respond. Third might be same route every time, different route every time. And when you introduce yourself, when everyone's logged on, you start with who are you and where are you? Because location is so key. Every time you meet someone, if you're on vacation and you tell them where you're from, someone always will ask you, how close is that in proximity to? Because they know someone somewhere in that area. And that right there is a way to help make yourself more memorable. So by introducing who you are and where you are, you then share your answers to the icebreakers and what made you say it. So if it says plan it or wing it, I might say, I said plan it because I used to be a wing it type person, but I found that I didn't get as much done. And so right away, people start opening up. And by keeping it very broad, it's not trying to control the conversation. So when people are meeting for the first time, they're not as anxious or nervous to where they feel like they might answer wrong, because everyone fears being embarrassed, or no matter what age you are, it's something you don't get over. So coming from, as said in part 1, with many learning disabilities and not doing well in school, my biggest fear was being called on for an answer, which is why I would usually have a sarcastic response to make people laugh because I didn't know the answer. So I didn't want to make people uncomfortable when they were introducing themselves and sharing their icebreakers. So by keeping it very vague, nobody can answer wrong. There's no right or wrong answers. It's just your answers. So that's the first phase to get to know someone. When you're answering those icebreakers prior to logging on, there's a list of 40 questions every month. And it's not really 40 questions. It's really 10 questions asked 4 different ways. So because everyone has a different personality, some people are going to like hearing the more compassionate questions. Other people are going to like to hear information questions like, how is it that you do things? Other people might be very spontaneous individuals and they're looking for other crazy people like them. Or it might be someone who likes to follow a very organized set system. So they're looking for questions that really feature qualities having to do with that. So you're going to look at all of those questions before you select which one you're going to choose. And you're going to think of an answer for yourself. How would I answer that? And if you have a good answer that you're comfortable with, that's going to help you select the question that you do. So when you log on, you have an answer for your question. Maybe it's a question about something you're looking for more information on. So you want to hear what other people have to say with that. But it's a self-serving reason, which is perfectly fine. So everyone comes on, you have 6 people, and everyone brought a question. Each person asks their question around the room, giving their answer last. So it's giving that respect to each member that they're going to ask their selected question. So it's a meeting that's created by those who are attending. So by hearing others' answers, everyone is learning these, let's say, 6 questions. They're getting everyone's answers. So they're learning what those on the call were interested in finding out more about. After everyone's gone, you give your answer last. That's the second round. The third round is choosing who you're going to follow up with and what they said that piqued your interest. And then using our platform, you simply click a button that says follow up, and that's the second step of our process. That sends an email with your scheduling link. So right away, before you're off the call, you're scheduling when are we going to do our one-to-one. When we meet for a one-to-one, the same way how we selected one question, you each select 3 questions for each other. Now, this is the first organization that I know of its kind where there is a process to follow when creating a one-to-one conversation. Because if someone is very extroverted, I have railroaded conversations not intending to when meeting someone or in a one-to-one because I'm excited or hearing what they do, and I'll share a bunch and they don't get an equal time to ask me what I ask them. Seeing that imbalance made me say, how can I level the playing field for everyone so an introvert can feel like they accomplish just as much as the extrovert? So by each party selecting their 3 questions of what they're interested in sharing about themselves and what they're interested in learning about others, it equally co-creates conversation. After that 3 questions each, it's not needing to go on for another 30 minutes because many people will say, we had a great conversation, we spoke for an hour, but then you never talked to them again. So how great was the conversation? So the idea is after you each ask your 3 questions, it should take 25 to 30 minutes. You then complete the 4th step, which is recap, which is you not needing to take notes, but you just click on tags in the area of what did they say about family? What did they say about sports and activities? What did they say about hobbies or interests? What are 3 adjectives you would use to describe them? When would you like to follow up with them? By you setting all that in the system, it now stores it in their profile. And now you have a reminder. So it keeps track of each person that you are building your network by knowing. So it's all stored in one place. So all 4 steps, the meetup, follow-up choice, one-to-one, and the recap are stored in one place so that you don't forget about people you met. Same with like knowledge. We all know enough. It's applying it or implementing it. We've all met enough people. It's building relationships or following up with the ones that stood out or we had things in common with, because how many people did you marry after a first date? The idea is a relationship takes time to build, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life. So that's how our 4 steps really nurtures that.
Yeah, it is an incredible system. And I will say too that anyone joining and trying it out for the first time, to make them feel even more comfortable, you never have them go first, right? So you always have the people that are used to being there go first to share the icebreakers and the questions so they feel a little more comfortable with how it goes instead of just like putting them on the hot seat, as people would say.
Yeah, and that's it. When people, it's funny to watch people's reactions when they come for the first time and see how that meeting format is. They say, oh, it seems like a lot. I said, perfectly normal to feel that way because it's different. And anything that's different is uncomfortable. But this is part of the whole process of the Network Builder program, which essentially is NPN. It's a leadership program within NPN. Build yourself, build your business, build your network. When you are overcoming that discomfort, you grow through discomfort. So by discovering a new way to do something, how you haven't done it before, initially there is that discomfort or challenge. But I tell everyone, by your 3rd time being on, it's going to be easy. And really everyone tells me I'm like their 2nd or 3rd. Oh, it's not so bad. And once they're building that confidence that they know what to expect, so the idea of that format is it doesn't change. So it's always those 3 rounds. What changes is who you're on a call with and the questions. So every month it's a new 40 questions for meetups and 40 different questions for one-to-ones. So by having the questions change, you're always learning different things about the people who you're meeting with. So even if you were on a call with 3 of the same people every call for 4 weeks in a row, every week you're going deeper and deeper into knowing more and more about those individuals. So maybe week 1, I didn't have an interest in following up with you for one-to-one. Maybe week 2, nothing caught my interest. But in week 3, I learned that you're into car racing. And I say, wow, didn't know that about you. Let's do one-to-one. So it's the idea that you can't know everything about someone in a short amount of time. And anyone that believes that or continues to follow a process where that is the foundation of how you get to know people, I don't believe that approach will ever work. So that's why this is kind of an evolution of the networking group and why I call it an accountability group, because it's not based on meeting more people. It's based on structuring yourself, followed by your business. And by doing that alongside, that becomes your network.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, we got 3 minutes left. I know you and I can always go on forever. But for someone watching that feels overwhelmed, directionless, or even disconnected from their potential, what do you want to leave them with today and about how the culture through MPN can support them?
I think the message I would send out is whatever someone is going through or feeling, someone else is feeling it as well. It's very rare in this life or in this world to go through something or be the first person to go through something that others haven't themselves. And you might not know someone who has gone through what you are going through. It's not because they haven't gone through it, they just may not have shared it. And MPN is a culture that is non-judgmental, because as people share things that you don't typically hear in network environments, nobody judges it. More often someone will say, I've gone through that too. And it's been from homelessness to eating disorders to bankruptcy. Things have come out on calls in which people are either laughing, sometimes they're crying, but they're connecting. And to me, the most important thing for anyone out there is find those you connect with, because there's no reason to go through anything alone.
Yeah, 100% agree. But I want to thank you for taking the time and sharing that, because I do believe what you have is a truly unique platform. And I think it's very much needed about, building those relationships and not just all this flash in the pan, speed networking. Because to me, that's a lot like cold calling, but it's an incredible platform. I would encourage anyone that has watched this, if you haven't watched part 1, go back and watch part 1, because he has a lot of lessons he's learned through his life and his changes. He's put it all into MPN, and truly appreciate what you have built. And thank you for coming here and sharing it with us today.
And Laura, anyone with a book of business or their own business, if you're doing it alone, if you don't have employees, it's just you, be part of a culture with others who also are in that same situation, because nobody has all the answers, but collectively we do. And you'll find the answer you need among this culture. So if you're operating alone, don't. Come join us and we'd love to meet you.
Yeah, and it's been fun to watch the people grow. We've seen some people go from just, from here to up here, they just really, really raised the game, and I really got things going. So it's great to see the impact that it makes on people. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah. So everybody have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and we will see you all again next week on Mindful Mondays. Have a good one.